This month marks 50 years since the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. And in the book End of Days, New York Times bestselling author James L. Swanson turns his focus on the final days of our 35th president, recreating the moments leading up to the assassination and the tragic aftermath. And with us this morning is James about this go-to book for the 50th anniversary. James, very, very excited to talk to you, sir. Your book about John Wilkes Booth, by the way, one of my all-time favorites. It was a brilliant page-turner, excellent read, so thank you. So, James, why after all of these years are we still intrigued by JFK's assassination?
Well, a few reasons. First of all, he and Jackie were a magical couple. They were like American movie stars. They were pop culture celebrities. They just weren't political people. Their fame and their appeal transcended politics. People loved them. People were fascinated by everything they did. That's one reason. Another reason, we lost JFK in his prime. He was only 46 when he was assassinated. He'd been president for less than 3 years. We wonder, what would he have done? Right. Would America have been different or better? The nightmare of the 1960s might never have happened the way it did if John Kennedy had lived. Civil rights protests, violence in the streets, riots, burning cities, the murders of Martin Luther King, of Robert Kennedy. Maybe we tell ourselves these terrible things would have never happened only if John Kennedy had lived. We long for him to this day. Right. And of course, the horrible way he died on film has transfixed us. We think of it as a true crime story in a way, of an unsolved mystery. Were there conspiracies? Who was Oswald? What really happened? So for all those reasons, we can't forget John F. Kennedy. On this 50th anniversary of his death, he really haunts us still. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, you share a lot of unknown facts in this book, so let's get to it. On the morning of the assassination, did JFK predict his own death?
Well, he said something very eerie that certainly sounds like a premonition. He's in his hotel room in Fort Worth. He's about to leave with Jackie and fly to Dallas for the fateful motorcade. So he says, Jackie, last night when we got here would have been, in JFK's words, a hell of a night to assassinate a president. It was crowded. We were getting jostled. It was dark. It was raining. A man could have pulled a pistol out of a briefcase and shot me and vanished into the night. Wow. And then he said another thing. What if a man with a rifle in a tall building tried to assassinate me? Nothing could stop him. So why worry about it? And little did JFK know, the moment he was saying those words to Jackie, there was a man in Dallas in a tall building with a rifle waiting for him to get on that plane and get in that motorcade and drive down Elm Street.
Wow, that is unbelievable. Now, how did John and Jackie spend their last night together?
Their last night was quiet and romantic and private. They had dinner together in the hotel room before a number of important events. They were already dressed for the evening. Jackie was wearing a beautiful black velvet dress, her white pearls, her black hair framing her pale, beautiful complexion. The president was dressed for the evening, and they chatted over a private dinner alone, all by themselves. He helped her practice her speech that she was going to give in Spanish to a group that night, and they chatted about their future. They were closer than ever, I think, during this 10th anniversary of their marriage. Their infant son had just died a few months ago. It was a terrible trauma for both of them. Jackie said to the president, despite the death of our son, something even worse could happen. I could never stand to lose you. Wow. If you died, I couldn't survive.
My gosh, wow, that's unbelievable. Well, so, of course, we all know after the fatal shot, Jackie crawling out of the limousine. What was she really doing in that limousine after that fatal shot?
Yes, we've all seen that sad film footage of the president being shot, and then Jackie turns around. She kneels on the back seat, and she stretches forward and reaches. She never crawls out onto the back of the car. She's not trying to escape. She's not trying to save herself. She would never abandon her husband like that. What she saw was part of his head had been thrown up into the air by the shot that blew part of his head off. Jackie was trying to reach for that piece of his head and grab it and pull it back into the car. She was thinking, well, the doctors will need that to make him better when we get to the hospital. And when they got to Parkland Hospital, when she finally released his body to be taken in, she actually went up to the doctors and held out her cupped hands. And that part of his head was still in her hands. She thought they might need it to fix him. She was in shock. She didn't know what had happened. She didn't know that he was beyond repair. He was beyond treatment. Wow. But that's part of the sad story of this. Jackie is a very important part of my book. She's an iconic figure. She was an American hero that weekend. She wouldn't change out of that bright pink suit because she said, I want them to see what they've done.
Right, right. Well, and so one last question for you, James. How do you feel that the assassination of JFK altered American history? As you said, there's so many things that could have been that we just will never know.
Yes.
But in your opinion, what
yes,
do you
Jed,
say?
we'll never know the what-ifs about Vietnam or this or that, but we know this. We lost an optimism that JFK embodied. We lost faith in government. We lost faith in our institutions. America became a darker, more suspicious place after the death of John F. Kennedy.
Okay. Well, James, thank you so much, sir. I'm going to head out right after this and pick up this book. Can't wait.